Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session, children. We were learning about the expansion of democracy and the similarities and differences between the Libyan struggle for democracy and Myanmar, that is Burma struggle for democracy. Both got restored to democracy, but how did they come from this dictatorship or the military rule back to the democratic path we have seen because of the people's struggle? Today, we shall learn about the march of democracy, that is ever since the birth of democracy in 17th century after the French Revolution and even after the Glorious Revolution in England. There has been a gradual transformation of political systems across the world to conform to the democratic ideals. And initially democracy helped the social classes that were opposed to the feudalism. So people felt that democracy mean which is against to the feudalism. Feudalism बोले तो पहले landlordism था. So that feudal lords are nothing but the landlords. So the system which was against to the feudalism and monarchical rule, that mean a single ruler जो था उसके खिलाफ जो practices था, we felt them as a democracy. So we have built a new kind of social order which rejected the privileges on the birth. By birth, whatever privileges were given. French Revolution में तो हम देखे थे, okay, the entire society got divided into 3 estates, first estate, second estate, third estate, depending upon the birth. By birth, you will be identified into which estate you are, and you are supposed to pay taxes if you fall under the third estate. So the divine right of rule was not at all present, which was carried out by the monarchical rulers. The divine right to be ruled, to rule, was also rejected by them. Europe and America went through great revolutions during the 18th and 19th centuries to bring this about. That was their fight against the monarchical rules, their fight against the feudal lords. We have seen these revolutions got spread from one country to another country after England in 17th century. And industrialization and colonialism also. There were vast industries which got established, and colonialism, the spread of countries' rule on the other countries' resources also we have seen, had created conditions all over these industrialization and the colonization has created conditions in all over the world which favor the democratic ideals. That means the people's participation to rule themselves, they have favored it. And an educated middle class which was inspired by the democratic ideas emerged in most of the countries, and that is educated people who brought the revolution in most of these countries, whether it is Libya, whether it is Burma, whether it is India, whether it is China. It is a great educated classes who got inspired by the democratic ideals, had spread this want or the desire for a democratic setup. Even though each country had its own distinct social system, all countries don't have the same social background. Even though they have different social system, but democracy appeared to create the framework for all these problems, for just settlement of all these problems. Thus, each country is evolving a model of democracy suited to its needs. I don't tell that all kinds of country have the same kind of democracy, but the framework is same, and they have tailor-made the needs, the problems, and they have created their own method of democracy in their own countries. It was in the 20th century, democracy became a slogan of anti-colonial struggles also, and especially in Asia and Africa, to build the independent nations. During this moment only, the countries like India, Sri Lanka, South Africa are some of the examples which have attained independence and turned out to be democratic countries. Some of these countries were able to attain freedom and establish suitable democracies or stable democracies in their countries after the colonial period. However, many of them could not build a stable democracies. For example, our neighboring country is there, Pakistan. So in the case of Pakistan, there was military dictatorship got established there. In countries like Pakistan, military dictatorship and democratic rule kept in coming in cycles. एक 5 साल military rule रहती और एक 5 साल democratic rule रहती. Okay, so this kind of democracy coming in cycles right from its inception, right from its formation itself, Pakistan was suffering to establish a stable democratic country. सो इन मोस्ट ऑफ द कंट्रीज अंडर मिलिट्री डिक्टेटरशिप, जो कंट्रीज में मिलिट्री डिक्टेटरशिप है उधर पीपल आर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग देमसेल्व्स टू रिवोल्ट अगेंस्ट द गवर्नमेंट एंड एस्टैब्लिश ए डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री. We saw the examples of Libya and Burma also in the previous sessions where people required some changes, even though there was a huge development which occurred under the military rule in Libya, but people were not satisfied because they were not participating in the rule of government. So they have begun only recently, such changes have begun recently. During the 20th century, another form of political system came into being, which is commonly known as the communist system, about which we will see in the next class, children. Thank you, children.